U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio just visited down here in the Dominican Republic, held a joint press conference with President Abinader. And in this video, I'm going to summarize the three key topics they talked about: Haiti, semiconductor production, and rare earth materials. Didn't see that one coming. Also, I'll give you brief bullets on some of the other things talked about. And then I'm going to share with you the dumbest question asked by the New York Times. Just stupid. I'll share it all and more in this video. Let's dive in. Big topic, of course, is what's going on in Haiti and all the insecurity and the craziness and the gang-controlled violence over there. President Abinader had very, very strong words on this. I'll show you right now.
We discussed the crisis in Haiti. This is a situation that requires a coordinated, solid response from the entire international community. We have reiterated that there is no Dominican solution for the Haitian crisis. That is why we have highlighted the urgent need to have greater financial support for the multilateral support led by Kenya, the goal being to expand its operational capacity and ensure effective actions. We also highlighted the importance of reestablishing humanitarian assistance to avoid a worsening of the crisis and a possible uncontrollable migration wave that would affect both the Dominican Republic and the United States. We agree that there is no time to lose, Mr. Secretary. The Haitian situation is a threat to security in the entire region, including that of the United States. Every day that passes is a day of fire and blood. Haiti is drowning, while a significant part of the international community is passively watching from the sidelines without showing the commitment that this serious situation requires. We both know that we must not shirk our responsibility to have firm determination given the situation. In the case of Haiti, the leadership of the U.S. is fundamental and there is no substitute.
And I kind of feel bad for the guy. Like, he's been pumping the same narrative for a while now. And he's essentially saying, like, hey, look, I don't care. Like, we need help. No way we can do this on our own. We need help. And whether or not anybody listens is going to be key. But Rubio also took some time to talk about Haiti, and here's what he had to say.
Last but not least is the issue of Haiti, which we cannot ignore. It's a tragedy, it's horrifying, and it needs to be dealt with. I want to be clear that the future of Haiti belongs to the people of Haiti. And they and the elites in that society have to make up their minds and have to think through what they want their future to look like, because that is their country and their future belongs to them. But we are going to help. There's been some misreporting about the U.S. role and support of the mission there. So let me be clear, and so it's understood. Last week, in the middle of last week, I signed a waiver to make sure that our programs there continue. And as of last Friday, they are active and have been working. And they are, and I reiterated that this morning in my call with the President of Kenya, who we appreciate, by the way, that nation's willingness to stand up and lend security forces. I think it's also important to note, however, that that mission as currently constructed will not be enough. It needs to find new direction in order to be successful at rooting out these armed groups that today have taken possession of large portions of Haitian territory and endanger the lives of people and the stability of the region. I think it's also important to be clear. We cannot and will not ask the Dominican Republic to accept or be expected of them to accept an uncontrolled migratory wave. No country in the world should be asked to do that. And this country should not either. And we will not be asking for that.
All right, so here's my take. I don't know that much is going to change. The rhetoric was good, but you can hear the difference in the strength of wording. When a politician says, it ain't working, we need help, this is a major issue, like Abinader said and has been saying, and then you've got Rubio saying, like, hey, look, Haiti's got to control its own thing. They got to get the control of it. It's all about them, the elites in that society. But hey, we're not expecting DR to do anything more. It would be silly. We wouldn't expect that of them. We're going to support them. We talked to Kenya. It's going to be okay. I don't get the feeling in the warm and fuzzies that the U.S. is all in on this. I would have liked to have heard rhetoric like, we're going to end this once and for all. We're going to make sure this new president in Haiti gets propped up, and we're going to make sure that there's security here and DR doesn't have to worry about it. Now you might wonder, like, well, why would the United States do that? And it goes into the third topic of rare earth materials. Sorry, that's what the phrasing that kept getting used, rare earth materials. But again, the rhetoric wasn't strong here, so it didn't give me a lot of confidence in the U.S. doubling or tripling down or making sure that this issue goes away. Now, he did say, Rubio, that there is labor and opportunity in Haiti for them to become a participant in the region, in developing things that the U.S. could benefit from. If there truly is that sense that there's enough value in Haiti, then sure, maybe there's going to be more support, but new administration, we'll have to see what happens. All right, the second topic that came up of interest here was semiconductors. And Marco Rubio, in his opening comments, had this to say.
We need to discuss energy security. We have a chance to not only have a power supply for the Dominican Republic to continue to make progress, but this will be a great benefit to Puerto Rico. They are North American, and there's a chance to take use of semiconductors. This is going to be key for modern technology, and everything that has been said about medical, defense technologies as well. And you have a chance to become a hub for this type of industries. We will work together and we will consider ideas to see how to expand the presence of that industry here, so close to the United States and in a country that is a friend and that is safe.
Look, I see this as it's coming. The president here has made semiconductor development a national priority, and the U.S., it's not even a matter of whether or not they're like, oh, yay, DR or anything. Like, it just makes too much sense for Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic and Mexico and other countries in the region to participate in the semiconductor industry. Right now, 95% of semiconductors are manufactured in Taiwan, like that close to China. So the US wants to get it closer to home. The production and the cost of production and everything is going to be way less in countries like DR, so it's coming. The extent to which, the size of which, who benefits, all of that will remain to be seen. But in his opening remarks, for him to mention it, Haiti's the obvious elephant in the room, but semiconductors are a big part of it, obviously. So the fact that he said that was big. Now look, these first two topics, when I wrote my newsletter last week, I talked about it. I said, hey, there's three things that I'm really curious about Rubio saying in anticipation of his visit here. Those are the first two. The third one was not the third one that I came away with, though. So this was new for me, and that was rare earth materials. It's not new for me knowing that there are those here, but the discussion on this just sort of popped up. Here's what Abinader had to say on rare earth materials in his opening remarks.
One of the key issues in our conversation was also the development of rare earths, a resource that has great potential for the Dominican Republic. In this case, there are new opportunities for growth and investment and would make us more competitive in international markets.
So this came up, and obviously the U.S. was like, hey, we're going around, we're checking stuff out, and look, in this country, you guys got something we like? And so Abinader, you can see him like, yeah, hey, we got these metals, materials. I keep saying metals. Yeah, we'll do something with the U.S. and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with it. But the key here is what is available here in the Dominican Republic. The U.S. is the biggest buyer of. So it's almost like DR doesn't have much of a choice, I'll say, to be in a trade market with the United States. And look, the United States will put money in and buy materials from the Dominican Republic. The scrutiny it's going to get is that money, no matter how much it is, won't hit infrastructure, it won't hit curing police corruption, hiring more police officers, or whatever else it's supposed to go to. That is just going to line politicians' pockets and make the rich richer and all of that. And I get it. I mean, honestly, every country has that to some extent. You're seeing that now with what Doge is unearthing. Whether you agree with it or not, some of the stuff that the US is paying for is like, what are we doing here? It's ridiculous. So of course, money coming in from the US for these rare earth materials, yeah, it's not going to all go to the things it should. But again, it's one of those inevitable things. Now, Rubio was specifically asked about exploitation of these goods, of these materials, and here's what he had to say.
That is a project the president can talk about. That is based on investigations carried out with the U.S. Corps of Engineers. But the idea is the following. Those rare earth elements belong to the Dominican Republic and its people. But I know that the world will need access to rare earth elements for all of the new technologies that are used for defense, but in other kinds of advanced technology in this new era. And I know that having an ally with access to these elements in the hemisphere is very good. We want to help develop this wealth of the Dominican Republic. This is your country and this is yours, but we want to help you develop it because it's better that these elements are in the hands of an ally rather than in the hands of a country that's not an ally on the other side of the world. Uchi, we can actually share with you preliminary information. It's preliminary, but quite positive. We have gross reserves. Then we will see what the net reserves are. But the gross reserves are of about 100 million tons. That is significant. In about 2-3 months, we will have the numbers with precision, but what we've seen so far is quite positive. We feel optimistic. This is advanced technique, and we require technology and help. This is why we have created a public company, a state company, to be able to exploit these rare earth elements, but the market is in the United States. There is an international price, but you always need advising so as to exploit them in an efficient way and with economic sense.
It almost reminded me of like when I was a kid, if I had baseball cards that I didn't understand the value of and somebody saw them and knew the value of them and came over like, hey, I can help you. I could help you with these, sell them or whatever. Like, you don't want these to get into the wrong hands. These are really nice. I mean, these are good cards. You should I'll help you with them. I'll do you a solid. Kind of has that feel. A little bit of like, hey, we like what you got here, huh? You don't want to go into the wrong people. We got you. So exploitation might be the right word. And I'm not laughing at the fact that like, it's funny to watch a politician like dance around the topic of like, hey, look, they got some stuff. We want it. We're going to get it. We're the big superpower. They don't really have any other choice. So we're going to buy it from them. It's yours. We'll give you all the money. We'll do what we got to do. We're going to take it. We're going to use it as we need to for our national prosperity. And yeah, you get some money for it too. Again, I don't know that there's much ado here. Like, I don't think it's like, oh my God, they're going to rape and pillage the country. I don't see that. It's just, hey, every country in the world has a bigger country that they're answering to, whether it's the US or China. And in this case, DR is answering to the United States in terms of, hey, look, if we want it, we're going to get it. We could take it one of two ways. Not that there would be military intervention, but like, they're going to get it however they want to get it. They can cut off aid. They could do so many other things to constrict the DR. So I don't think this is a big deal, but it was just interesting that it came up a few times. And if anything, if I see it on the positive side, the United States sees a really, really interesting thing that they want from this country, and therefore they're more likely to engage and be there to help out. So hopefully that means on the Haiti side, the aid and the support of the international force going in there and clearing out the gangs and everything is actually amplified. And we'll see what happens in the near future. Just cleaning it up, some other topics that were discussed were around anti-corruption and anti-drug. There's been a lot of cocaine seized this year in Dominican Republic, record amount. I think it's like 49 tons, and the prior years was like 3 tons. So obviously, the cocaine moves wherever there's least resistance, and for whatever reason right now, DR seems to be a place where there's a sense of being less resistance, but there's been a big push to confiscate those drugs. That's a lot of drugs confiscated. You can say what you want about corrupt government. DR does know, like, if we let this crap, fentanyl, whatever, get to the United States, like, we're gonna be on this list. So it's not about like doing good for the sake of doing good by seizing all these drugs, but there was a big discussion around drug seizures and not letting it get to the United States. In fact, Abinader announced a drug czar. He appointed a drug czar to stop the flow of fentanyl to the United States. So that was a topic that popped up. The Summit of the Americas, which is happening in December right here where I live in Punta Cana. I got to get to that. I got to figure out my way in the door so I can report for all of you. But there was a lot of discussion around that. There's a lot of excitement around that. It's a big deal to host it. And one of the reporters asked a question of Marco Rubio, like, hey, in 2022, you didn't want Nicaragua or Venezuela and one other country, I forget which one. You didn't want them there. You going to block them on this one too? You going to sit at the table with these people? What are you going to do? And Rubio just kind of danced around it, but again, just kind of a footnote on this. So those were 2 other topics that came up. Now, there was a very dumb question asked, but before I tell you what it is, I have a request. drop down and hit the subscribe button if you would, please. I share a lot about living abroad, including newsworthy stuff and all of that right here on this channel, and it helps me grow. And if you're watching on TV, I know it's harder to subscribe. Just grab your phone quick, just bing, bing, and boom, you're subscribing to this amazing channel. And if you want more on this and others, down in the caption is my link to my newsletter. I send it out every week. I go deep on topics, everything from travel tips to moving abroad to everything else. Take a look at it. So a New York Times reporter stands up and wastes everyone's time with a dumb question. He essentially goes like this, Mr. President, to Abinader, you know, the Haitian president says that Trump doesn't really like Haiti. Do you think Trump likes the Dominican? Here's what Abinader said.
But we just heard the policy of the United States with Haiti. So I am pretty confident of this policy that the Secretary of State just mentioned. So we are pretty confident of what Secretary Rubio said, and if we follow that, we will see a peaceful Haiti in a couple of months.
What do they expect Abinader to say? He's like, he just said he likes us and we're cool. So like, whatever, man. Like, we'll figure it out, and I'm sure we're gonna solve this thing. And they said in a couple of months. We'll see about that. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. If we're like May, that this is resolved in Haiti, amazing. But it was just hilarious to me to hear this question like, oh, what do you say, Mr. President? The president, actually, he started by saying, can you say that again? This is in English, by the way, Abinader. He's like, can you say it again? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, you know. And Abinader just slapped him down. Now, look, before I move on, I need to address something else, because this is just American politics today. Some of you watching this are gonna think like, he's anti-Trump because he said this. And others are gonna say like, he's pro-Trump because he said this. Let me be very clear what I am. I'm pro-America and I'm pro-Dominican Republic. And what that means is I don't like high taxes. I don't like other countries taking advantage in either case. And I think a strong America is good for the rest of the world. The stuff that I've seen coming out of the Trump administration, securing the border, the tariff wars with the other countries, which is just a negotiation tax. So many people get their butts hurt over this. Like, oh my God, Canada has zero leverage. Mexico has zero leverage compared to the United States. Yes, they can tariff and tax certain things, but when Mexico and Canada each contribute 1% of the GDP to the United States, and the United States contributes 30+% to both, like, you can't outlast the US on this tariff war. It's so stupid. And nobody expected Trump, I didn't, to actually tariff these countries, at least not right now. It's a bargaining chip. But from a business perspective, like, I get it. I get what he's doing. But the point of this video was just to share what I see and what I believe to be the case from this particular interaction with Marco Rubio being here in country. Oh, I forgot one thing. In my newsletter, the third topic was deportation of citizens from other countries into the Dominican Republic. Like, the DR is going to have to accept them. And that is not discussed today, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. Maybe it will, could be wrong, this won't age well. But from what I've seen so far, when countries have resisted taking back their own deportees, there has been a power play back, and then they end up taking them. There's some negotiation that happens, and it goes away. There would have to be a bilateral agreement between the two countries for the U.S. to deport, say, a Venezuelan or somebody that's not Dominican to the Dominican Republic for DR to handle. Maybe they end up agreeing on that in the future, but that was not something talked about today, and I don't see that as something that they need. US wants the rare earth materials. US wants the drug trade to stop, and DR is committed to that. The US wants microchips developed here, and DR just wants some help with Haiti. I think that's essentially a summary of what we saw, so we'll see what happens going forward. Now look, if you don't like this stuff and you'd rather learn about just living in DR, tap right here and you'll get a whole playlist of stuff, everything from travel tips to moving tips and everything in between. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.